Hey, this is Al from Transformational Gaming. Appreciate all the love that I've been receiving over the channel during my streams. I don't do a lot of these. I want to pick these up throughout the next year, so I want to do kind of these ad hoc standalone videos instead of just doing a whole bunch of gameplay. I don't want to just neglect all the news or my opinions of stuff that's going on out there for just doing a bunch of gameplays and stuff like that. I want to add some meat to the channel, so please continue to like and subscribe to the channel. We've received a lot of subscriptions, and I think that's a good thing, but I think we need to get into more of the tech stuff, because especially, man, I mean, I receive so many views about the tech, and namely the Polk HT subwoofers. Now, I don't know if those was quite as old, but I still believe that there's more information to be given about the SVS subwoofers, because this isn't a review or anything like that. This is just a quick peek at what SVS has offered for its premier. I mean, still, even to this day, it's still its most recommended and flagship subwoofer. And excuse me for all the dust and stuff that's on top of the subwoofer. I didn't get to wipe it off or anything like that, but this subwoofer is one of SVS's premier sound systems. So, and I think that's their highest price speaker. So a little bit about SVS. I don't know a lot about the company, but I do know that they major in speaker manufacturing. So the experience that I've had with dealing with SVS so far has been pretty good. As far as me not needing to call the manufacturer, they've done a great job in that. This is a really sturdy subwoofer, but it has its pluses and minuses just like everything else. This is pretty much a spoiler. But yeah, this is probably one of the top subwoofers that you can buy. I mean, this subwoofer is gloriously made, but you know, there's a lot of problems with it, but I don't think that should deter people from buying this subwoofer. This subwoofer really offers pretty much everything you need as far as the job of what the subwoofer is supposed to do. So without further ado, let's get into it. So without going through all the specs for the subwoofer, the two main things that I think is most important to discuss about this subwoofer is the wattage, which is 1500 continuous, and the size. The thing weighs about 200 pounds. I think it's listed at like 170, but still, this thing is heavy as I don't know what. Just me moving it into place was very tumultuous, to say none the least. But besides all of that, yes, it's about 200 pounds, and the woofer is about 15.5 inches. They list it at 16 inches, but if you take a ruler out, you're going to get 15.5, which ain't that bad at all. This is probably their biggest woofer that they offer as a line. So, and SVS got a lot of their specs on their site on YouTube, so I'm not going to necessarily do their job as far as describing what you're getting. I mean, let's be honest, you're getting the tank. And the decision mostly when you decide to buy this subwoofer isn't necessarily akin to the sound. Most of the time when you buy a subwoofer of this caliber, you're going to get pretty good sound. I think the real issue is what type of subwoofer finishing did you want? You know, do you want the gloss or do you want the wood? And so I kept going back and forth with when purchasing this. So actually I was going to get the 3000s because those had just came out at the end of last year. But I'm like, well, if I'm going to be spending thousands of dollars on a subwoofer, I may as well go ahead and get the real deal. So I just settled on this. Getting into some of the components that come with it, obviously you get an app, and with the app comes various settings that you can do to control the volume so that you can EQ and harmonize with your other subwoofers. And most of the layout is pretty much straightforward, only for one exception, the parametric EQ. Now, the parametric EQ would be great if it was more descriptive of what it was and what it was trying to do. Now, you can see basically you got 3 parametric EQs, which goes up as you activate each parametric EQ. Now, the thing behind this is to have you to calibrate at which instance you want the bass to sound louder, which would be nice, but this is laid out so incoherently, and it's only really designed for people who are like electrical engineers. They're going to just maybe bypass it or not use it at all, which is a shame because otherwise you're missing on a lot of gains that you can get from the parametric EQ. I would like to have seen them just have an option to where you can turn on the parametric cues versus turning them off and then just allowing you to go up 18 dB. But the good thing is you do increase the dB and you can calibrate at which frequency you want your bass to sound louder. The problem is that not a lot of people understand frequency, and not a lot of people understand the gist of parametric EQs. So I would say that this is probably a situation where I like to see them improve on the transparency between calibrating and adjusting the EQ versus having users try to figure out and having to call the company up. I mean, they would save themselves a lot of time if they just either tacked it on to the rest of the dB at reference level on the volume, or just have it be an option. But to have it lay out the way it is, I think it's just it's incoherent. I don't think a lot of users will understand it at first glance. So another component that comes with the PB16 is the speaker cover. Now, the speaker cover is another testament to SVS trying to offer you a luxury item. It's a steel cover. It hides the subwoofer and protects the subwoofer. It overprotects in a way, but I think they wanted to have a real solid look to it. This in particular is something that screams luxury item because it's protecting the subwoofer, and I can't say anything necessarily bad about the way that looks. Some people, like your wife or whatever, would think I don't like that because that looks a little crazy that you got. But for the most part, I would say that the grill adds on to the subwoofer's allure and quality. Great add-on. Another component that I would like to talk about is the subwoofer itself. The subwoofer is woven together. I believe that this is probably one of the best attributes, and I'm pretty sure they copyrighted it at some point, but this is one of the best attributes outside of having the gloss material and the gloss finish. I believe that this is one of the best features of the subwoofer aesthetically. Definitely an A+ in the way they woven it. It's made of some type of microfiber that is supposed to be able to give it the ability to not distort very easily, kind of a lighter feel, so when the driver hits, of course, you can get the waves and stuff that you need, and it's very sturdy, so it won't compromise the wave, but it will be able to give you the feedback at the speed that you need. So yes, I would say that that's probably one of the most expensive things about the subwoofer, along with it being one of the prettiest and the most eye-catching portions of the subwoofer. So definitely an A+ in that area. And the last external attribute I want to talk about is the display. Now the display is blase blah. Now you're going to get an app with it. You're going to get a remote control that comes with the subwoofer. So I just don't really understand why they would have a display set on the top portion of it. It does make it look like a real technical masterpiece as far as the technical side is concerned. But outside of that, it's not really a lot of value added. It's not something that you have to have if you have the app. Now, if you don't have the app, then yes, you have to have that display. So, but I don't see any real reason not to use the app. I mean, the app is basically a feature unless you don't have a phone. So last but not least, I like to talk about my opinion for the performance and output. Now, I'm not a guy who take measurements. I'll stick to what I hear, because if you get into all the output dB and all of that stuff, first, before you do all of that, in my opinion, you should trust your ears. And SVS doesn't disappoint. I don't want to regurgitate what everybody else has been saying about it. So I just want to talk about some of the problems that I have. Now, before I talk about that, I do want to praise SVS for doing an exceptional job on its crafting and its ability to give you the lows that is basically ground shake. You're going to get hit in the chest. You're going to get hit in the teeth. You're going to get hit in the head. You're going to get hit in the face turning this thing up, because it really does rock the whole house. I like to think if I had the XLR cable set up, I think I would get probably even more lows coming out of the speaker, because if you give it clean signal, it's just going to perform that much better. So this is not necessarily made to go to or be connected to a lower end receiver. Now, it works even in that aspect, but it's my opinion that you should have a receiver that has XLR. One of the bad portions at extreme lows, you can hear it squeak a little bit. Now, I've heard other people describe it as shuffling or whatever it's doing. On extreme lows at high dB, it's going to give you a baby squeak. The best thing is to put it in default and then tune it with your plugs for the ports. Another bad thing about the SVS PB16s are the size of them. Now, the more these subwoofers come out, there's other subwoofers that's come out, and basically you have to go in understanding that if you want low frequencies, you got to have a bigger box, and that means you got to run it by your wife or either surprise her. But either way, to me, having anything that big in your house, I mean, God help you if you want to move or something, it's just not advantageous, because you can't necessarily move it around. You need 2 or 3 people to help you move it, and God help you if it falls or it drops on your foot or something. The dimensions speak for itself. I mean, the thing is like 21 inches high and 30 inches deep, so you're basically has another piece of furniture that's in your house. Now, a good thing is you can kind of camouflage it by placing the grill over it, and it's not necessarily a shiny grill, so that's a good thing. But you know, and it depends what kind of finish you like as well. So the fact that it's black is what I like, because any other type of color or alterations to it, I just think it's too much for a setting like a living room setting or something like that. This thing is best put into a man cave of some sorts. Just another thing about the output is that at extremely high frequencies, I just don't believe that this speaker in particular was made for those frequencies, and I don't think it performs very well. Now, when I say high frequencies, I'm meaning like 200 hertz, 200, 150, 100 hertz. In that area, it just doesn't sound good to me. I've listened to a lot of different music, and it really does a lot of distortion at those frequencies. I think this thing was made for low frequencies. I want to say sub 30 frequencies. Those are the frequencies that you want to put it at. I want to say, but anything between 50 and 10. That's when you really get a lot out of the SVS PB16s. I mean, these things were made to output at low frequencies, not anything over 50. Anything over 50, 60, 70, I don't know what kind of sound that is, but whatever it is, I'm just going to take it as distortion. Because at those higher frequencies, it just doesn't perform well at all. I just don't believe that was what I was supposed to hear, right? So you may be asking yourself, Alex, would you recommend this subwoofer? And I would say, yes, I would recommend it, only if you got 2 things, the money and the space. Outside of that, I would not recommend this for any type of apartment or whatever, any apartment. I don't care if you live in downtown New York or anywhere. To me, this was made for like a man cave. It gives extreme lows. I'm pretty sure I never tested it on concrete before, but I'm pretty sure this thing can resonate on concrete. Anything you give it, the SVS PB16 will be able to outshine. Its primary frequencies are between 50 and 13 hertz. And if you set it for that, I believe that you will have a great time as far as entertainment is concerned. I would advise getting other subwoofers along with this subwoofer, mainly cheaper subwoofers that can give you the upper 70, 80, even 100, maybe 120 hertz, depending on what type of setup you got. I got monitor, so basically my monitors are good all the way down to 50, and then after that they're done. So SVS PB16 are good for occupying that space of frequency. This pretty much output at every level, you know, as long as it's mastered correctly, this outputs at every single level. So comment, like, subscribe. Appreciate you coming by. I hope this gets as many views as my previous videos, and hopefully this is detailed enough while being short enough to give you all the information you need. So I think this is the subwoofer for you. Comment, like, subscribe, and we are out.